Ain't no justice in this town.
Oh mama, can't you see what the system's done to me?
What the system's done to me.
They locked us up and put us down.
They locked us up and put us down.
Ain't no justice.
Ain't no justice in this town.
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 Oh sister,
Sister, sister, can't you see
what police have done to me?
what police have done to me?
They locked us up and put us
They
down.
locked us up and put us down.
Ain't no justice in this town. Ain't no justice in this town.
Ain't no justice in this town.
Justice in this town.
Make some noise, everybody!
New York City, make some noise! This was an urgent press conference anchored by a coalition of movement leaders to address the violence of the NYPD the last 60 days in this city, but more importantly this last week. We want to make sure that the leaders in the movement and the elected officials standing with us and the faith leaders standing with us, that the media and the world know what's happening in our city. Without further ado, make some noise. If you need a speaker's lineup, we want to make sure everyone knows who's here and more importantly, who's not. One of the co-MCs, let's make some noise for Chelsea Miller from Freedom March NYC. So today we come together as a community, as a united front to talk about what has been happening in our streets. This is our city, and we will not allow intimidation tactics to be used on nonviolent protesters, on the youth in this movement. We will not allow a narrative to be twisted about what is happening here. We know that change needs to come. We have been on the front lines for over 60 days asking for change. And what has been the response? More violence, to silence, to act as though it is somehow a radical idea to believe that we live in a city that deserves better. So when we stand here today, let's not get this confused. We are not here because we are saying that change needs to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, because to be quite frank, we've seen how America has responded to the first pandemic with a rapid response, an unapologetic response. And so in that same way, we are asking America, and we are asking our elected officials, how will we respond to the second pandemic of racism? And so if the response is to be silenced, then understand you are on the wrong side of history. If your response is to use fear tactics to make it seem as though we are doing something that we are not on the front lines, because what we are doing is exercising our First Amendment rights. What we are doing is what the history of this country has owed us to do, and that is fight for our freedom. So with that being said, we have faith leaders who have come out today. We have elected officials who have come out today. We have organizers and activists who have been on the front lines for months who have come out today. And we will hear their voices, and we will get this story right. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Reverend Green.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are here as faith leaders. My name is Reverend Stephen Green, and I serve at the Greater Allen Cathedral Church of New York. And as faith leaders, we have gathered to stand in solidarity with those who are truly on the front lines fighting for freedom and justice. This is not just a political fight, this is a deeply spiritual fight. And we're not just wrestling against police brutality, but we're wrestling against spiritual wickedness that occupies humanity. Amen. So we're talking about usurping and uprooting the very soul and core that allows violence to be pervasive. that we're recognizing that we're trying to change the hearts and minds of people who uphold the institutions that continue to dismantle the effectiveness of justice and equality in this land. And so we have come as faith leaders to put the city on notice that until you uphold justice and equality and peace and love, that you won't have any peace in this city. That you won't get any peace. We're not going to stop marching. We're not going to stop disrupting the status quo. And guess what? We're going to take it up a notch even higher. That this summer is a freedom summer. This is a freedom summer. Right now, they are burying and memorializing the life of Representative John Lewis. And we stand in solidarity with people all across this land who have watched and seen generations continue to fight and struggle. But we've come to serve notice that the fight is going to stop with us. And we are not going to allow another generation to have to endure this same struggle. But we are going to unite together as people of faith and people of conscience to resist this tyranny, to resist this fascist empire, and to turn the world upside down. So New York City, be on watch. We're not going to stop until justice comes.
The other night, I was just as appalled while I was eating dinner that I got a text message in a Signal chat and in several other chats saying that a member of our movement community was snatched into an unmarked van. I know my role in the movement all of these years supporting folks running for office was that I needed to call an ally to figure out where our comrade was. I don't want to speak to that story because Abolition Park will, but before they speak, I think it's important for the elected official for that district, a leader who's been standing with her community to speak and give some context, a Latina who stood with our community when we screamed to defund the police because we needed dollars for schools and counselors. She stood with us when a lot of people wouldn't. And I want to make sure that people see who was with us. And that night at 1 o'clock in the morning when we were able to confirm where our comrade stickers was, it was because of the courage and the urgency and the rapid response of Councilwoman Carlina Rivera.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Tired of being out here, right? But I gotta tell you, for all of you that are out in the streets every single day, you are not quitting. And for that, I will march until my last breath so we can get some justice in this city. So we saw what happened on 2nd Avenue. We saw that there was no reason for plainclothes officers or unmarked vans to be trolling a peaceful protest. There was no reason for that. But this is not new. This is not new in black communities, in brown communities, in immigrant and trans communities. This has been happening a long, long time. The only difference is we caught you. The only difference is we got you on video. And that's the tool that we have to use now. We repealed 50A, and you will hear from one of my colleagues at the state level, because now we have receipts too. For all of those officers who have records of misconduct and no legislative or budgetary action to equalize what is happening with a police budget that is bloated and officers that stay on the payroll that continue to terrorize and brutalize our communities, it is unjust. And you know what we need to do? We need to change leadership. Right now, it's not working. We asked the mayor, what do you think? It was the wrong time and the wrong place. Every single black and brown person has had a member of their family in the wrong place at the wrong time. They end up incarcerated. They end up with deprivation of services and with a history where they can't get a job or fair housing. So what is the mayor doing? There's no de-escalation at these protests. They escalate the violence. So what are we doing? We can't see them in any which way or form changing. So the reform has to start at the top. So we are asking for a change of leadership in NYPD, and we are asking for this mayor to actually step up and represent those families, those cities that he ran on to say that they are just underserved, historically disenfranchised. We know the story. So I am here to tell you that day when Nikki was taken, I called around. I tried my best to find out where she was, but I could not do it without the advocates behind me. They have been leading the way every single step, and I will continue to support them. So when we finally found Nikki at the first precinct with really no sort of communication available, it was not a new story. We know that. We know what happens in Brownsville and Bed-Stuy and the South Bronx. We know what happens in these communities every single day. So we are trying to make some change. And it is obviously hasn't happened. It didn't happen with the budget. No legislative action to hold anyone accountable. So we are going to keep fighting. Where is the de-escalation tactics? Where is how to peacefully manage a protest? It's not there. Where is the ban on less than lethal weapons? We do not need tear gas or rubber bullets or long-range acoustic devices. You're bringing sound cannons into our community and tear gassing elected officials who represent black and brown communities. So it's time for change, and I'm standing in solidarity with all the people here and in the streets to say the commissioner got to go.
Make some noise, everybody! He's raising the bar on leadership, and if leadership doesn't look like that and sound like that, we don't want it.
So now we are going to hear from Abolition Park. And as a youth organizer in this movement, I will say that Freedom March NYC stands in solidarity with Abolition Park. Let's not get this twisted. When one of us are kidnapped in the streets and taken by plainclothes police officers, all of us are kidnapped in the streets and taken by plainclothes police officers. Because it could be any one of us, any day, coming out here and saying that we want change. And so we will hear from Jonathan and Syke about what they've been doing at Abolition Park and telling the real story and the full story. And it is our responsibility to make sure that we get this right.
Thank you all. My name is Jonathan Lux from Abolition Park and Black Youth Project 100. And today I'm here to talk about what I might call a violent kidnapping that perpetuates what we understand as a growing fascist state that we are now living in. I want to take you back to not this week Tuesday, but last week Tuesday. Wednesday morning, 3:45 a.m. in the morning, where a group of 100 swatted police officers in helmets and shields came into Abolition Park and occupied City Hall in the middle of the night while people were sleeping, while people were taking care of themselves, came in and violently removed a group of peaceful protesters. Now let me tell you what they destroyed. Because we were there for 30 days holding it down. Now, I'm not sure what the NYPD and Commissioner Shea has about caring about each other. I'm not sure what they have against the care and love and joy and participation and community building that we were developing at Abolition Park. I'm not sure what they have against humanity. Maybe they have lost their humanity, but we're here to stand in solidarity, not only with Abolition Park, but with the greater movement of changing this world now and forever. When they came into Abolition Park Wednesday morning at 3:45 a.m., they destroyed everything. They trashed over $20,000 worth of equipment that we were using to support our community there. Both protesters that came in to support and throw down and make sure we change this world, but also people who came because they are unstably housed. People who came because we're living in multiple crises simultaneously in this city. People who came because we know we're going to experience the largest eviction crisis in a generation. We were supporting those people and they destroyed that camp. They took down our bodega. They took down our food station that offered 24 hours of free food to anybody who walked up. They took down our medic tent where we were keeping each other safe. They took down everything. We had a people's library. They destroyed it and threw away all of our books. What do they have against revolutionary books? What do they have about us educating ourselves against a fascist state that we're living in?
Come on, brother, come on.
So in response to last week, where we know they have been targeting us, where we know they wanted us destroyed, where they know they don't want resistance against the fascist state that we're living in right now. In response to that moment, Abolition Park decided to organize 24 hours of protest. We launched our 24 hours of protest this week, Tuesday morning at 11 a.m., where we started marching across the city, where we said we're going to be tired, we're going to be exhausted, but who knows that there are many tired people being oppressed out here? Who knows that there are many exhausted folks that have been fighting for freedom and justice and trying to get free in this country from being kidnapped by a white supremacist government? So we stand in solidarity with them as we launched our 24 hours of protest. And we marched around this city. And unfortunately, in the middle of our protest, we understood that we are actually in this moment being targeted. We wouldn't be surprised if they had profiles on the names and faces of everybody who spent time at Abolition Park, because they, the NYPD, are targeting us. Somebody say shame.
Shame.
Somebody say shame.
Shame.
Shame NYPD.
Shame NYPD.
So today, we want Psych to come up in 1 second and talk about specifically what happened to our sister Stickers, aka Nikki, when she was kidnapped violently in a fascist way. That, make no mistake about it, they are trying to intimidate us. Make no mistake about it, they are trying to target us. Make no mistake about it, this is not just a random occurrence. This was strategic. This was intentional. This was their tactic to try to suppress our resistance. This was their tactic in order to suppress our protests. I don't know about you, but I feel like we're still living in a democratic nation and we are allowed to protest in this country. So in our 24 hours of protest, even once they kidnapped our sister Stickers, we carried on. We kept marching. We kept protesting. We kept pushing, and we will continue to carry on. So that evening, starting around 10 p.m., we hosted a ball for the house and ballroom community. Some of you might know Paris is Burning. Some of you might know Poles. But this is a group of people that are black and queer and trans and always at the front lines of marginalization in our society. We organized a ball for them that evening. We got to the ball and the police had already barricaded that location and did not allow us to have the ball there, but that's okay. Somebody say we're resistant. Somebody say we're resilient. Someone say we will never stop fighting. So we ended up just moving our ball to a different location, and we did have the ball. It was a beautiful, wonderful event. I encourage you to look at Abolition Park Instagram to see updates on that, or Free Black Radicals Instagram. But what we saw, as we started that ball, police barricaded the entrance with yellow "Do Not Cross" tape in a public park that was not closed. They are targeting us is what I'm telling you. How we ended the day, we ended up marching to Commissioner Shea's house around 3:45 a.m. Exactly 1 week after they raided our park and kicked us out of the safe haven we had created for ourselves. And we did our own version of a raid. Luckily, our raids aren't violent. Luckily, our raids are centered in a peaceful righteousness, a peaceful rage, a peaceful understanding of bringing justice and freedom. So I encourage you, look at our noise raid as we targeted Commissioner Shea for targeting us. Can we all clap it up for my brother? Psych, yeah.
Make some noise! Make some noise, everybody! Folks are risking their lives every day for the freedom of all New Yorkers. Make some noise!
What's going on, everybody? My name is Psych. Actually, my name is Psycho. It's an acronym for passionate, strong, young, creative, and observant. And once I came to Abolition Park, I put all those skills to work. Amen. We established a family. We established community based on mutual aid. We established radical love, where we all became a family. And we did all of that in the face of the NYPD. They didn't want us there. Every day they challenged us, and we challenged them and won. Every day they tried to agitate us. Every day they escalated tactics. All under the orders of Commissioner Shea and Mayor Bill de Blasio. Because we know the NYPD don't operate by themselves. When an attack from one of them is an attack from all of them. And 2 days ago, they attacked one of us, in front of us. They maliciously targeted a peaceful protester who was doing nothing but help and protect us as one of the skaters, cause we keep each other safe. They directly targeted her. Stickers. A human fucking being. They grabbed her up in front of where they thought we were weak. And they beat her down because she fought back. She resisted their illegal arrest. They hopped out of an unmarked van. They did not announce themselves. They wore no badges. They said nothing. They looked nothing but white supremacists attacking our people. And we've seen it time and time again. They forced her into an unmarked van. And we pressed on to defend her. And they forced us back, implementing military tactics. They used their bikes as weapons. Last I heard, that was illegal. They maced us or tear gassed us or something. That knocked out several people. People caught seizures. All of that was unnecessary. We were peacefully protesting. What happened to our rights? They were the one who wrote that into the Constitution. What happened to our rights? They attacked, and we defended, and then we continued on. And the malicious attacks did not cease. Because when we pressed on to Madison Square Park for safety, when we had food and mutual aid set up, because that was our next destination. And y'all know the NYPD cannot stop us. We are not fucking scared of them. Right on. So we kept going, and we made sure everybody was safe. But again, they plotted. Again, they institutionalized military tactics to bait us out into the streets, to beat us, to force us into the park, where they had a little congregation of their officials, their pure white shirts. Funny how that works. And that's when they decided to set us up. That's when they decided to get their riot squad to push in and beat us. You look to the right, a man is in the bushes getting his head bashed in. You look to the left, a woman with her hand out, yelling for her friend to come, is getting her arm broke. And again, they take more of us who are standing up for each other, doing nothing but telling them to fall back. They said we threw rocks. They said we threw bottles. We ain't do shit. We looked out for our people. Last I heard, the police, the NYPD specifically, was the most organized, most strategic, and most highly trained division of the police department in the world. So why the fuck is it that the first time they get to use their riot gear, the first time they're using their mace and their fancy fucking batons and all this new shit is when they're beating on peaceful protesters? The first time any of them have ever seen action is when they're beating on peaceful protesters. We have looked them in the eyes. They wait for it, and we are tired. Commissioner Shea, Bill de Blasio, y'all give the orders. These are not just random acts. They're targeting us. Stickers, as she wants to be known. Stickers, the person, y'all targeted her based off bullshit charges. And y'all are targeting us, trying to jump off bullshit charges stemming from peacefully protesting, using our First Amendment rights. This shit is not right. And we will not stop. Never. Bam!
Make some noise for the organizers from Abolition Park. Now, I'm one of the co-MCs, but I want to make sure I anchor what my current beef is with leadership and the NYPD, because I've been on the phone nonstop the last 24 hours, and the mayor's been really curious about what I was going to say today. I'm a local leader, and 9 times out of 10, folks on the front lines might not know me or my work because I'm strategically in the background. 30,000 people, 60,000 people that marched here in 2014, 2015, 2017, 2018 was under my strategic support, under organizations that were being ethnically targeted by Trump. The PD knows my organizing abilities well. When we talk about threats and people in our community, I was in Louisville with organizers from New York standing up for Breonna Taylor's family, because that's what New Yorkers do. We show up for each other, and we show up where injustice is calling us. So I think an injustice today is the fact that Mayor de Blasio is acting like we didn't have private conversations a year ago where there was a lookbook of people of color in the department that were worthy of being appointed to commissioner, and he chose Shay because he was a white man that had GOP pull with the Republican Party. So let's talk about, for 2 years I was on the community board in Central Harlem, where we don't have a councilman that shows up because that brother's suffering from dementia and he's protected by the system too. So while Central Harlem is burning and I'm calling 911, no one responds when Carlene Pinto calls because they hope that my whole building with me inside it burned down. That is the reality for people that do this work, that have these skill sets. When we're calling out the mayor, I'm telling him, go back through that lookbook. Who was that sister we were talking about that every community may feel safe under her leadership? Where is she? And in a moment where Commissioner Shay is highlighting officers that unfortunately were injured after violently attacking unarmed, non-violent protesters, we're telling them, well, we're sorry, that's what happens when you send the 7th largest army to attack young black and brown people. I'm gonna stop there and say I want to speak to press and other people separately. Right now we got a lot of powerhouses behind us, one of which is someone that stood with the undocumented community, the Muslim community, undocumented being targeted in upstate New York that aren't protected by Governor Cuomo, people in Jackson Heights that are being raided as we speak. Assemblywoman Catalina Cruz is here with us as the first formerly undocumented elected official in New York State, so make some noise. When we say we show up, we mean that if we allow the NYPD to do this, there will be massive federal occupation of ICE and Customs and Border Protection that we cannot allow to happen. Mayor de Blasio, you were elected on our backs. You were elected by the labor leaders of color that put you there. You were quick to say, well, black folks could have been your child, but stickers could have been your daughter too, right? So where are you? We want a new commissioner. We need to make sure the NYPD learns de-escalation because they're welcoming federal authorities, and that has massive impact for districts that people like Catalina Cruz represent. Please make some noise for a true champion in the New York State Assembly, Assemblywoman Catalina Cruz.
I fled Colombia when I was 9 years old, and I want to tell you a story because I think it's important for you to understand what happens in other countries. I grew up under a military state, and when I had to call my family this morning to get clarity on the stories I knew growing up, no one wanted to talk. No one wanted to talk about how one of my uncles was kidnapped by the police. No one wanted to talk about how my father was kidnapped by the police. May he rest in heaven, and I never knew the story, but what I knew is that so many of us are now living through it. Let me tell you what's going to happen if we don't continue to act. We are going to have more of that. It could be you, it could be you, it could be me the next time. Because if they don't stop with a simple protester who was doing nothing violent, because the last time I checked, a piece of property, whether right or wrong, because that's another conversation, should not have led to someone being kidnapped, because that's what it was, in the middle of the street. And I want to echo what you folks said. This was strategic. This was meant to teach you guys a lesson. This was meant to teach you who had the real power in this city. And this is meant to teach him who has the real power in this city. You want to come for our people? everything has happened the way it has. We voted for 58 to be repealed. We voted for chokeholds to not be something you should do to anyone. You went to protest. You wanted the NYPD defunded. We wanted the NYPD defunded. And all of a sudden, the escalation begins. The things that we knew were happening in our community, to our undocumented families, to our Muslim brothers and sisters, because this whole thing of kidnapping someone off the streets has been happening in the city of New York under this mayor, other mayors, and for a very long time. Do you think that this was a coincidence? He's got about a year and a half left and no power to talk about. He wanted to remind us who he put in place and that they were still listening to him. You think he actually didn't see the video? You think he actually doesn't know what's happening and hasn't given instructions? When I raised this issue last year, I was called anti-white and racist. It's not even a thing, thank you. Because to me, it would have been important to have somebody like, I don't know, Juanita Holmes as the head of the NYPD. Someone who understood, hopefully, what our communities needed. Because the fight to defund and to get rid of a militarized police is a long one. And in the meantime, we gotta work with what we have, but we do not have to accept it. We do not have to accept the fact that someone could be used as an example to shut the rest of us up. We do not have to accept that I could be walking down the street and someone could kidnap me and I would not even know that it's a police officer. I don't want to hear that excuse that there was a warrant. I don't want to hear that excuse because that is simply bullshit. There is no other way to describe it. There is no reason for the commissioner to say that he can't do his job without these tactics. That's like saying I can't do my job without being corrupt. That is not a thing. Look at other countries where the police have no weapons. Costa Rica, for one of them. Look at other cities where we have managed to have better police community relationships. That is an actual thing that has happened. But that is going to take a long time here in New York if we continue to have the leadership that we have now. And can we even call that leadership? Because when your first response is to say, I didn't watch the video, and your second response is to say, look at the NYPD statement, you are the mayor, for God's sake. We trusted that you were going to keep your word to be progressive. We trusted that you were going to keep your word to stand up for immigrant communities. We trusted that you were going to keep your word not to cooperate with ICE. And guess what happened in the Bronx about 2 months ago? ICE was at those protests, peaceful protests. Explain to me how that happens. I have to go back to my district where more than 50% of the families have someone who's undocumented. And they are fearful of going to the police and asking for help when a crime happens. Because that's actually the job that they should have, to protect us and not to attack us and not to use our families and our friends and our neighbors as an example to remind us who's in power here. And so what we're going to do now, not only by demanding new leadership, but by not staying quiet, is to demand that he understand, and I'm not talking about just the commissioner, I'm talking about the mayor, so I'm going to point that way, that we're not going to be Portland. Not on our watch. We're not going to allow a militarized police state in our city. We're not going to allow you to keep us quiet. We are not going to allow you to tell us what our rights are. And with that, I'm going to leave it because today is not about me. I'm here to support, like I've always been, and Carlene knows it. I'm here to listen to you guys because we're going to continue to have this fight until we get new leadership.
So we abolish leadership.
Abolition. That's right. You know why? Because you can't call that leadership. You know what's leadership? What I just heard these young people talk about. What you guys managed to do and put this together. So, can I just please get a round of applause for these young people? When I was your age, I wish I would have had that level of courage. And so thank you for showing us in elected office why we're keep on fighting. Thank you.
Make some noise, everyone. That's the bar we're setting for elected officials in New York. I want to make sure folks understand when I talk about New York leadership, whether it's in the halls of the assembly or in the Bronx, we know that New York keeps showing up. I've been on the front lines with Hawk Newsom since before either one of us had organizations to rep. We lead our communities, we feed our people, we show up and we're unapologetic. And when I have a problem with my safety and I feel threatened by the police, I can't call 911, I call Black Lives Matter, Greater New York, and Hawk Newsom, so make some noise.
Peace, y'all. Nah, fuck peace. Listen, just real quick, shout out to everybody who has been putting this work in supporting Black Lives Matter Greater New York for so long, right? People like Carlene Pinto, people like Rise and Resist. I see you. Come on, y'all. Come on. Nah. Celebrate people. Celebrate people who are not standing up here. Celebrate those real people who are putting in the work every day. We are no greater because we are standing up here. We're just voices with a different type of platform. We are all the same out here. Diana, I see you as well, Queen. Oh, man. I'm up here. This is Black Lives Matter Greater New York. If you ever hear anybody apologizing for things we do in the media and things we do out here in the streets, they are not representative of us. Okay? So let me tell you something. If there are any scared to death Negroes standing behind me, you might want to move right now, because I'm about to be Hawk Newsom right now. They don't want us to talk about what's happening in America. They don't want to talk about the rising tide of the people in America. They don't want us to talk about how folks are coming together and unifying against anti-blackness, and how folks are willing to fight for black liberation by any means necessary. The days of us just marching and singing are over. I'm tired of marching. That's why people like us, people like Vidal, are going into the neighborhoods, into the projects, into the communities, raising our people up. Because this ain't just an activism fight. This is a fight in the community. So if you are not uplifting the community, if you are not organizing the community, then you ain't doing a goddamn thing but playing politics with a bunch of politicians. You will never catch me standing next to Mayor de Blasio. And you will never catch me marching with anybody who stands next to Mayor de Blasio. Because Mayor de Blasio is a perpetual enemy of black New York. A consistent oppressor. People like to draw these wonderful lines. Republicans are racist. Democrats are radical. No, fuck you. That's a lie. Both parties oppress black people. Both parties oppress black people. Black Lives Matter started under Obama administration and got revitalized under the Trump administration. So you got a black man and a white man still fighting for the same goddamn thing. Rich corporations in America. Billionaires in America is who they represent, not the people. So they want to point us out. They want to say you're radical. They want to point us out. They want to call us violent. Why? Because they don't want people to listen to us. They don't want people to listen to us. A young queen that I respect a lot said, Hawk, y'all take up a lot of space. You know why we take up a lot of space? Because we are the only individuals with this platform that will talk that shit to everybody and stand outside and be unapologetically black and say, fuck the politicians, fuck the government, and fuck the motherfucking police. I got this. I got you. I got you. I love this woman. And she gonna tell me later, Hawk, you crazy. But she wouldn't have invited me if I wasn't crazy. Okay? Now, I had an epiphany when the good brother Syke was talking. Because he inspired me, man. Me and this brother met, and it was conflict. And we had an older black man that's still handsome to young, handsome black man type of talk. Right? And we made some progress. And that's what we're here to do. Let these young people lead. And we just give them as much support as possible. But I'm going to tell you this. When he was talking, I had an epiphany. And this goes out to the media. The next time you talk about the gangs in New York, the NYPD needs to be the first gang that you mention. Okay? And when society, quote unquote, goes after gangs, then they must go after their leaders. Okay? They must go after their leaders first. So, what I tell you is to run a report, do some extensive research on how Commissioner O'Shea's NYPD has behaved in the last 2 months. And you will have all the evidence you need to push for his resignation. Say it loud. Say it loud. I've said enough. I thank each and every person here, even the politicians. Right? I thank all y'all for coming out. But public servant, I like that. That's real shit. What's his name? I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I do this for the people. The people. Y'all. This is for y'all. And if y'all got a problem with what I'm saying or doing, my cell phone is on my Instagram. I'm accessible. Let's chop it up. Let's build. I love y'all.
Make some noise, everybody. And I'm not out here trying to censor him, but I'm worried about his safety. And over 2 minutes, I keep looking around. I'm like, bro, it's getting hot. I'm nervous for you. So really quickly, I want to make sure folks are anchoring someone that was violently attacked by PD and was one of the first protesters leading nonviolent work. He led hundreds of institutions in the sanctuary movement here in New York City when Trump was first elected, and I know him from interfaith organizing for the last decade. He was violently attacked and countless times, but besides that, the NYPD aided the federal government in his deportation. He's gonna speak to you all. Please make some noise for Ravi Ragbir.
You know, I'm reading the New York Times article about Nikki Stone. She was charged with criminal mischief. Stickers?
Yes, please.
Stickers? She was charged with criminal mischief and making graffiti. Misdemeanors. Criminal mischief and graffiti. And they kidnapped her. It wasn't just a kidnap, it was a violent kidnap. It was a grab, steal, and disappear. You heard Catalina talk about Colombia disappearing. You're hearing what is happening in Honduras disappearing. They want to disappear us. You hear what is happening in Portland. They are disappearing us. Have they done? They talk about they're the police and they want to protect us. But have we seen any of them go to Goldman Sachs, go to Chase, go to Jamie Dimon, Roger Stone, Sheldon Silver, and attack and kidnap him just as much? No, of course not. everyone said here, it is a message to us. If you speak up, if you stand up, we will take you down. We will end it with you. We will show you who has the power. But I refuse to accept that. I am standing here today. Catalina talked about my deportation. As many of you know, I was not deported. That's a bad joke. Right? I'm here. And I'm here because everyone stood up for me. That is the power of the people. That is the power we have. We cannot change leadership without the power of the people. We have to start from the ground up. What we saw a few days ago was abuse. Abuse by the police. It was in broad daylight, but it was abuse. And we now have repealed 50A. There is no immunity anymore. There is no immunity anymore. So they should be held accountable. There should be consequences for their actions, and every actions like that. We need to stop this law enforcement mentality, which is not to protect us, not to protect you and me, but to protect the billionaires and the rich. We are standing here, Foley Square, around the Federal Courthouse, but around Federal Plaza, where they have CBP, Customs and Border Officers, where you have Immigration and Customs Enforcement. You know they have plenary power. Do you know what plenary power is? Plenary power is absolute power. Absolute power. So they can shoot you in the back and nothing will happen to them. That's what we have right now. And that's what they want to bring in from Portland. They want to show us that we are going to follow Portland. We are going to set the example, and we are going to invite CBP and ICE. They want to create a citizens academy. Citizens academy. Do you remember what citizens academy is? Gestapo. It's a Gestapo. They want us to point to the police ourselves. That follows Nazism. That is the trajectory of Nazism. We have the concentration camps. We have the abuse of the immigration system. We are seeing it happen. And the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, you may think, is about immigrants. But guess what? They turned on you in Portland. They will turn on you here. The FOP, the SBA, Sergeant Benevolent Fund, Fraternal Law Police are calling for their help. Calling for their help. The 7th largest army in the world is calling for their help. If they cannot fucking do their jobs, quit! Period! If you're afraid, quit! Remove yourself! If you need help, quit! So when we talk about what we need to do, change leadership, but we have to mobilize. This whole plaza should be filled with people. We are the power. The power of the people. The people have the power.
Make some noise for Robbie, everybody. The context of that, if you are an undocumented immigrant or a non-citizen and you get so much as a ticket from the NYPD, that makes you deportable. So when we say we need a new commissioner, we mean it because millions of immigrant New Yorkers' lives are threatened if they get a ticket for jumping a turnstile, or if a cop accuses them of doing something, they can be deportable. That's why it's everyone's fight right now. Make some noise, everybody. Next speaker, one of the anchoring organizations. These young people have been tearing up these streets in a non-violent way, mobilizing thousands. Strategy for Black Lives. Make some noise for Franzi, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Franzi, and I'm one of the co-founders of Strategy for Black Lives. Let me be perfectly clear. This city belongs to the people, and its leadership serves us. Not the interests, not the wealthy, not a few people, not one group. It serves us, everyone, people like you and people like me. Black and brown folks have been under attack. Not now, not just this summer, but for years, hundreds of years. And what we're seeing today is this generation, us as leaders, with an unprecedented fervor, saying that this will not stand. We have been organizing on the front lines, doing bridges, roadways. On Sunday, the black women organizers did the FDR, We're taking parks, spaces, doing whatever is necessary to make sure that our voice is heard. And what does this city's leadership respond with? What does law enforcement respond with? We're met with violence, disrespect, kidnappings. We have legislative officials being pepper sprayed. We have organizers from vulnerable communities being kidnapped in unmarked vans in broad daylight. What type of message are you sending to us? As a coalition, we have organizers here, faith leaders, community leaders, activists, allies, here to say that the leadership needs to be accountable. Commissioner Shea needs to step down and Mayor de Blasio needs to step up. Because what's going on is unacceptable. I don't know if some of you have seen it, but a week ago there was a video of a police officer assaulting a homeless man on the train. Clear video, 1080p HD. And guess what the commissioner said after seeing that video? He said, maybe we'll consider if that officer needs additional training. We've seen the same story time and time and again. And of course, as everyone knows, he's going to keep his badge and his gun. Right. But then the leadership wants to go on TV talking about we need to build trust between the community and the law enforcement. But your leadership and your top brass is saying maybe for assaulting a homeless individual on the train, there may be some training. How does that make sense? We need the commissioner to step down. We need leadership to be held accountable. Enough is enough, and I'm telling you, this will not stand. Targeting individual police officers, the whole system is at fault. And we are here today to say that the leadership taking them down is just the first step, but it's a necessary step. So I thank everyone for being here. I thank the organizers for being here. And we're going to keep being here. We're going to keep up the fight. We're going to be out here at 6 p.m. We're going to be in the community in Brownsville talking about gun violence. We're going to be in the Bronx, Morris Park. We in Long Island. At the end of the day, guess what? We outside, and there's nothing I could do about it.
So now we're about to hear from one of our sisters on the front lines, Monique from Black Women's March. This past Sunday, Black women organizers came together to shut down the highway. And let's make this very clear. We're still not scared. We're still not intimidated by the tactics that have been used to silence our voices, and we're not letting up. And so with that being said, let us remember that it is the young people who are out here leading the way, that it is those who are in the movement who are shaping and guiding us, because we understand that this is an intergenerational effort. We understand that we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. Let us also remember that Martin Luther King was a criminal in his day. And the last I checked, we use every single opportunity when we talk about progress in this country to misquote Martin Luther King. So with that being said, Monique, our sister in this fight who's been doing this work, talking about not just black cis women, but black trans women, talking about how we need to have these intersectional conversations about what freedom looks like for everyone. Let's give it up for Black Women's March.
I think we need to understand accountability is something that this system and this leadership has never known. Never known. Everything we have done is what they promised to do, what they say they've been doing. We've demonstrated what it means to protect the communities. We've demonstrated what it means to defend Black lives. We've talked about, fought for, protected, cried over the deaths in our communities. People not talking about or caring about the Black trans women that are being killed on a daily, hourly basis. We are here because we are situated in a movement that is no longer palatable. People don't want to steal credit for this movement because they don't agree with its presentation. They don't agree with its packaging. If we are telling you that Black Lives Matter, it shouldn't matter how we're saying it. It shouldn't matter who's saying it. Black women have been on the front lines. On the front lines. And this is not a labor of love. This is not voluntary work. This is necessary labor. We aren't here because it's convenient, because we want clout, because we want anything else other than the preservation of our lives. This system has never worked. This system will never work. If you are supporting this system right now, tell me, if you cannot think of an alternative, why would you support something like this? When we say we believe in abolition, it's because we are creative in thinking about the ways communities can be reorganized, protected, preserved, and resourced. How can you look this movement in the eye and find something to argue about, find something to debate? If you are not here with us, you quite frankly don't even know where you are. We are here fighting for y'all. You don't want to give us a chance because you're so used to our death. We are fighting for y'all. If y'all are not here with us, you can't even fathom how we're caring about you at the same time. The people that don't believe in us, this is protecting y'all too. So I just want to say, Black Women's March is situated in this movement because we have to be, because we care about the abolition. We understand that this leadership, that de Blasio, that Shea do not care. They use our language, they use cryptic language against us. They find loopholes in the system that was meant to have loopholes to kill us and to end our lives in a blink of an eye. Come on. So we need to talk about, not even just that, because clearly we've been doing a lot of that. What else can y'all do? Yes, you've been giving money. What else can y'all do? What communities are you avoiding going through? What communities are you avoiding supporting? That needs to end in this moment. In this moment. This has been going on for centuries. We've been telling y'all that this hasn't worked. And more than that, we fought to show y'all what does. So you need to listen to us. You need to support and back us. And y'all need to call attention to this leadership that serves no one else but themselves. So I just want to say power to the people. Y'all will see us on these streets because they're ours, and that's it.
Make some noise for Black women who never get the credit they deserve in any space. And as a Latina, I follow their leadership too. Make some noise. Next speaker is someone that all of you should know by face, because years ago when we were having conversations about closing Rikers, he was one of the folks that was directly impacted, standing on the front line. And I can't walk around my hood uptown without seeing him because he's in the streets doing the work. Make some noise for Vidal Guzman, everybody.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Vidal Guzman. First, I want to say we are community leaders from the city, from all 5 boroughs, New Jersey and Long Island. So we are doing organizing, lifting the consciousness of our people and changing a criminal mind to a revolutionary mind. The other day when we went to Staten Island, the police followed us when we got to Staten Island, drove where we was at, stayed where we was at with the cop car, and then when the protest was over, followed us all the way outside of Staten Island. The other day, I got some breakfast in the morning. We seen an unmarked car. People in my neighborhood. Well, first, let me educate you. People in my neighborhood are a part of the street organizations. They're Bloods, Crips, Lion Kings, and Trinitarios. One thing that happened is that someone in my neighborhood seen them take pictures. What do you think happened? My block started throwing water in front of the window. And when they got out, they said, why you did that? He said, because you taking pictures in our neighborhood. We are a taxpayer, and you're avoiding our space. and you're destroying our space, and you're making us seem unsafe. You see, I'm so used to that because I know what it means to be in the gang database and be harassed by police and be 12 or 13 years old and have grown men throw you on the wall. I know what it means to be blood and be in these streets and be harassed because of who I hang with and who I go to school with and who I live in what block. We have heard Commissioner Shea, we have heard the mayor has said at a press conference they cannot wait until the courts open. They said because they're waiting till the courts are open to do gang raids. And you're asking yourself, well, isn't that helping? No. Our community needs more credible messengers. Our community needs more investments in our communities as having re-entry until we have no entry. Our community actually needs to make sure we have food on the table. We are not playing with these politicians. Mayor de Blasio, just because you have black kids do not mean you care about black communities. This is not the first time we ran down on the mayor, and this won't be the last time. We are telling you that the game is over. Shea is a racist individual. He's keeping a racist agenda. Shea do not care about black people. Shea do not care about Black Lives Matter. Shea do not care about the taxpayer who are paying for the NYPD. He do not care. We have a racist leadership. And Mayor de Blasio, if you agree and grow some balls and do something about it. We are in the streets and we're not playing. It's a time for us to get what we want and we will get it. Every civil servant that is in office, we're not playing with you. The streets is out. We're not playing with you. There's no nonprofit behind me.
Let's go.
The niggas that's behind me are the street organization.
Let's go.
The people that's behind me are from the hood.
Let's go.
The people that's behind me, the one that Malcolm X said, that's the last generation, we mean that.
Let's go.
And I'm not playing with you.
Let's go.
Because there ain't anything that this country could do to me that was already happening to me.
Oh.
I've been incarcerated, I was homeless. I've been in colostomy bag when I got stabbed. I know what it means to get shot at. I know what it means to have harassed. I know what it means to have a settlement against the police. Of being harassed my whole life. I know what it means to be thrown on the floor. I know what it means to get kidnapped. That feeling. In my hood, we go so immune to it. So when a car can pop out like that, we know who they are. They did that again in my hood. And go their way. And go their way. We're not playing no more.
At all.
If y'all don't know who I am, if you don't know who my team is, we in all 5 boroughs, Long Island, New Jersey. And we're not playing with any single one of y'all. Either y'all gonna fold to our demands or we will fold you. There's nothing else to be said.
Make some noise, New York!
So when we say, not on our watch, not in our streets, we mean that. Today is the first day of making it very clear we're organizers, faith leaders, the ones who are standing on the right side of history, where we are. So the question is to our politicians, to our elected leaders, where are you? And why haven't you pulled up to the movement yet? Why haven't you supported the youth on the front lines? Why are you allowing us to be silenced? And so when we say no justice, no peace, understand that we are a part of something bigger, that we are standing in solidarity with not just this country, but the world. And the world is watching, and we are very clear what we want to tell them. We are saying that we are entering, and we have already been in, a fight for our lives, a fight for the lives of our unborn children, a fight for our lives and our communities. And so when we come out, it's not just to march, it's to strategize. Understand that behind every great leader, every organizer, there are dozens, hundreds, and thousands who are also supporting their work. And so that's why we mobilize for stickers. And that's why we will mobilize for every single leader in this movement, organizer in this movement, protester in this movement that is being wrongfully and unlawfully targeted. Because this is our country, this is our rights, and this is our lives. And we have a right to be out here. We have a right to show up. And so with that being said, pull up at 6 p.m. for our non-violent demonstration. Because it's not just us that's going to be out here. The community is pulling up. The people, we're pulling up. So to the press, get this right. Make sure you go back to your publications, your producers, and let them know that if you want to know what's happening in the movement, it's no secret who's leading it. And it's no secret where you could find us. Look behind me. So Nia, let's start the chants.
Make some noise if you're in the crowd.
6 p.m. Foley Square today. Be there.
Keep making noise for all of y'all because I see some familiar faces that keep showing up. Keep making some noise.
What do we do? When protesters are under attack, what do we do? When protesters are under attack, what do we do? When protesters are under attack, what do we do? I don't feel like y'all are saying with enough conviction. Every single one of you are considered protesters. So when protesters are under attack, what do we do? Hey, ho! Demonche has got to go! Hey! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Hey, hey! Demonche has got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Demonche has got to go! Demonche has got to go. Demonche has got to go. Hey, last time y'all say Demonche has got to go. We just want to thank you guys. Peace and blessings for coming out. Make sure you guys pull up and show up. 6 p.m. today.
You heard it. 6 p.m. today, Foley Square.
And make sure you guys spread the word.
It's after work. Definitely come down.
Foley Square, y'all. New York City, we outside.